So what is up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech, and welcome to the iPhone 7 versus the LG G4 comparison video. In this video, we're going to run these guys through a boot up test, a speed test, and just kind of see how they compare in the real world. Now, before we get this test started, let's just talk a little bit about both of these devices. The iPhone 7 does come with an A10 CPU, which is a quad-core CPU, which is Apple's latest. It has 2 lower power cores and 2 higher power cores. The LG G4 comes with a 6-core Snapdragon 808 CPU. iPhone 7, 2 gigabytes of RAM. LG G4, 3 gigabytes of RAM. 12 megapixel f1.8 aperture camera with a quad LED flash here. Doesn't make too much of a difference with that quad LED flash here. We do have a f1.8 aperture, 16 megapixel camera here on the LG G4 with laser autofocus, and that's a dual LED flash right there with some color spectrum sensor under there. So you can see that if we turn these guys over, on the front of the devices, you do have a fingerprint scanner here on the iPhone 7, no fingerprint scanner here on the G4, but you do get a 2K resolution screen here that's 2560 by 1440p on the LG G4, and a 750p display here, 1334 by 750 here on the iPhone 7. You do have a 7 megapixel front facing camera here that does 720p HD recording. You do have an 8 megapixel camera here on the front of the G4. I believe that does up to 2K recording on the front. So higher megapixel camera count on both sides of the device on the G4. Higher screen resolution, lower screen resolution. Fingerprint scanner, no fingerprint scanner. Now you don't have a headphone jack here on the iPhone 7, as you can see right there, whereas you do have a headphone jack here on the LG G4. Now this has a removable battery where you can upgrade your storage, and the iPhone 7 starts at 32 gigabytes of storage and goes all the way up to 256 gigs. Now a lot of people could say that this doesn't really matter anymore. Well, I mean, that depends. I think if you don't want to spend a lot of money, for people on a budget, that does matter a lot. But with that being said, let's go ahead and boot these two guys up here. So I'm going to boot them up at the same time in 3, 2, 1. Now the iPhone 7 is rocking iOS 10, and the LG G4 is rocking Android Marshmallow 6.0, not Nougat. It is probably slated to get that update very soon, but not quite yet. But let's see which one gets there first. I believe it's going to be the iPhone 7. It does boot up quite quick, and the iPhone 7 is in. Let me go ahead and confirm that we are running the iOS 10 right here on the iPhone 7. iOS 10 14A 346 here for the iPhone 7. Let's go ahead and boot up the G4. So the G4 was a good 15-20 seconds behind. But I mean, boot up speeds, they're okay and all, that's cool and all, but how often do we really boot up our phones? I mean, I don't boot my phones up that much. We restart them, don't really pay attention to that. So I don't think that's a big deal. Although I'm not gonna say that it was slower. I mean, it was still slower than the iPhone 7. So the iPhone 7 definitely gets a point there. So Android 6.0 Marshmallow here on the G4. So now let's just go ahead and open up a couple of apps on both of these devices. Let me go ahead and close these applications out here on both. And let's go ahead and go into Calendar. Oh, missed that on the iPhone 7. Let's do that one more time. First app I missed. Let's go here. And you can see iPhone 7 was first, but G4 right behind it. Now, Apple's getting a little bit closer to getting back to the home screen with their little touch capacitive button here. That's like the Taptic engine marketing. But basically, they're getting closer to Android's, quick animations back to the springboard. So you can see iPhone is pretty good going back there now to the springboard. So they're just about identical in that aspect. Let's go into the clock now. You can see that was about even, but let me know what you guys see. Let's go home here. Let's go into settings. That looked like the iPhone 7 just by a hair, but it looks like the iPhone 7 was open. So let's do that one more time. Let's do settings here. Yeah, iPhone 7 by a hair there, even on the second try. So iPhone 7 just a little bit quicker there. Let's go into Instagram. iPhone 7 a little bit quicker, but this is only minor. And remember, you can get an LG G4 new on eBay now for like $175. whereas you're gonna get this new for about $700. So you can get about 5 of these. Well, not 5 of them, but you get about 4 LG G4s for the price of one iPhone 7. You can get an LG G4 for your whole family for the price of one iPhone 7. But let's go over here to Twitter. And let's see which one gets there first, iPhone 7, but the LG G4 is right behind it on its heels. Let's go home. So the iPhone 7 does look like it goes home just a tad bit quicker, but I might be seeing things. You let me know what you guys are seeing. Calculator here, iPhone 7 once again. Let's go home. Calculator, about the same on the multitasking. Now let's see how they open up recently opened apps here. Let's go into Twitter. Yeah. Pretty similar there on opening the recent apps. In terms of scrolling, both very quick here in terms of the scrolling speeds, and a little bit quicker there. The LG G4 had the reload, a little bit quicker there on the iPhone 7. Let's go into Instagram, about the same there. Let's go home. Now let's talk a little bit about the screen. So the screen on the LG G4, I would say, it's way sharper than the iPhone 7, but the iPhone 7 seems to be better calibrated and has better viewing angles and gets a little bit brighter. However, does that make it a better display? I think it's going to come down to personal preference. If you like a super sharp display, the LG G4 is a better display. If you like a display that's just, very vibrant and not as vibrant as OLED, but pretty bright, vibrant, and just all around a solid display, you're going to like the iPhone 7 better. But I think most people, if they look at a G4 and then they look at an iPhone 7, they're not going to see the difference. Both of these displays are right up there at the top of the category in terms of quality and such. Like, most people are not going to say, hey, that iPhone 7 display looks bad and that G4 display looks bad. But personally, I think people who are into tech are going to say, I like the LG G4 display a bit better, just because it's pretty obvious how sharp the text is in comparison to the iPhone 7, even with all their gamuts and DCI, P3, and all these numbers they're throwing out there saying it's the best display ever on an iPhone. Well, I would hope it's the best display. It's the one that just came out, but it's still not up there with 2K displays on Android phones if you ask me. But that's just my opinion. You might differ. Let's go into eBay. Let's see what happens here. And iPhone 7 quicker there, so better optimized application there for eBay on the iPhone. Maybe eBay should probably go ahead and optimize their app a little bit better for Android. Let's go over here and go on Amazon. And we could see Amazon quicker there on the iPhone 7, but very slightly behind is the LG G4. So in terms of just scrolling through, both buttery smooth in this aspect. I mean, phones have gotten to a point where this is not ever a problem, just scrolling through. So not a problem there. Let's go into the cameras now on both of these devices. Oh, that was pretty close actually. So let's go ahead and flip this around. And let's see which one takes camera first, picture first. So let's go ahead. So about the same on both of these devices in terms of the quality of, or the speed of the picture. Now, the burst mode is a lot quicker on the iPhone. And I would say that the iPhone's camera is a lot more, how would you say, simpler to use than the G4. Although the G4, it does get pretty simple with the simple mode. All you have to do is tap the screen. But in terms of when you get into that manual mode, it gets a little bit more complicated here. So I would say the camera nod goes to the iPhone in terms of the software, in terms of the usability factor for mainstream consumers. Now for dedicated camera photographers, I think both can be great, but I think the G4 with its manual mode has the leg up over the iPhone 7. Now in terms of the camera quality on both of these devices, I'd say the iPhone 7 is a better picture for somebody who doesn't want to tweak photos. But if you want to tweak photos, I think you can get better pictures out of the LG G4, even though this phone's a little bit over a year old than the iPhone 7. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, but you can agree with whatever you want. This is my experience with using both of these devices' cameras extensively. Now, the front-facing camera, I would say, is a bit better on the iPhone 7, although the 8-megapixel camera on the LG G4 is a bit sharper, but overall, it's a more pleasing picture you get out of the iPhone 7. Now let's go ahead and open up a couple of games on both of these devices. This is where I think the iPhone 7 is going to rock the G4. So let's go into Temple Run. And you can see, yes, you see how much ahead that the iPhone 7 was over the G4. So in terms of gaming, this is where that A10 CPU and all of its glory is going to shine here on the iPhone 7. Let's go to Modern Combat. You can see way ahead of the G4 here. Way ahead. So yes, if you're a gamer, we don't even have to go any further. If you're a gamer, the iPhone 7, even probably the iPhone 6s and the A9 CPU is going to destroy the LG G4 in that aspect and many of the other Androids on the market. So gaming, while it's not a bad experience at all, you can totally play games on the G4 and have a great experience. The iPhone 7 really shows its processing power there. Now, yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap this video up. I'm not gonna run a Geekbench because we know the iPhone 7 has the highest scores. It's not really worth the time. But you can see here, overall, is the iPhone 7 worth the upgrade if you have an LG G4? I would say, I mean, if you like iOS, yeah. I think if you like Android and you come to this, you'll probably be missing your G4. It really comes down to Android or iOS and price. Do I think that the iPhone 7 is worth $500 more than the LG G4? Not a chance. The LG G4 is probably, I'd say, only $100 behind in terms of its performance. Now, you could say that the A10 has the power to do video editing, 4K, all of that stuff, but most people send their files from their phone to their computer, which makes it, you know, kind of irrelevant. I think just for opening tasks in and out, day in and day out, both are going to be great devices. I would call this iPhone a win here in this comparison, but a slight win. So if I was on a scale of 1 to 10, the LG G4 gets a solid 8 out of 10, where the iPhone 7 gets a solid 9 out of 10. So just a point better in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video comparison of the iPhone 7 versus the LG G4, please click the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel for more technology videos like this. I will catch you all in the next episode. Got more iPhone 7 coverage coming soon. Have a great day wherever you are. Be sure to be well, and peace.
No.